Hello, welcome to another wonderful episode of A Mile High and About to Die. My name is Zach Blum. With me, as always, is
Alex Blum.
And we are your hosts as we take you through the 12 steps, principles, and our experiences with the 12 steps as kind of an archetype for transformation. The idea being, if you've ever had a change in your life that was for the better, maybe there was, kind of a pattern to that. This seems to be a pattern that works under any circumstances, including if you're dying of alcoholism or drug addiction, which we once were. Now we've recovered from that hopeless state of mind and body to deliver you.
And we're dying to help you out.
Yeah, we're dying to help you out, everybody. Yeah, seriously, that was what was happening.
So we're on step 10.
Yeah.
Here we are. Glad to be here.
Here we are.
What's it all about?
The 10th step is about perseverance. That's the principle that we're going to be talking about today. Can you tell the lovely people what the 10th step is as it was originally written?
Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
Whoa. Okay, so can we do a quick recap of steps 1 through 9? What were the theme? What is steps 1 through 9 all about, Alex?
Getting good.
Getting good. Or is it getting well?
Getting right.
Yeah. It's not for bad people looking to get good. It's for sick people looking to get well. Or for uncool people looking to get even more uncool. Wait.
You're proving it. So, very briefly, steps 1 through 9, basically we're realizing we're sick, recognizing that a higher power can get us somewhere better. With that in hand, taking a hard look at where we've specifically been sick, sharing that with somebody else, pulling out what our defects of character, our role in all that sickness was, and then going to talk to people that, asking to be healed or have those things taken away from us, and then going forward, trying to right those wrongs with people in our lives through steps 8 and 9, saying, here's what happened, I want to take responsibility for it, trying to make things right, and clearing up that wreckage so that we can live a free and whole life. And now, really, steps 10 through 12 are like, okay, we've pretty much cleared everything up. And I think it's important to note also, I don't necessarily have to do every amend on step 9 for me to move to step 10. For example, someone may be living in Senegal, right? And I'm not going to be there for 3 years. And so I'm not going to stay on step 9 for 3 years, right? But I'm going to be willing to make amends to those people, and when I can do it, and then move on to step 10, 11, 12, which are really called the maintenance steps. It's how do I now stay in this healthy place of renewal, freedom, joy, and the sunlight of the Spirit.
Right, and so the idea, I think, is that takes perseverance, right? So that we're actually trying to, we're working on our character. Character takes a long time to develop. There's a lot of right action that it takes to build something that, so the idea of character here is we've noticed what our character defects were in the meaty parts of the middle steps.
Yeah.
Steps 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're really kind of identifying what are the patterns that I can't stop myself from getting into around what emotions am I always feeling? What thoughts am I always thinking? What's my orientation with other people, with the world, with institutions, with outside ideas,
I so wish it could just be you do it once and you're done, But I gotta keep being a good person all the time.
It can be exhausting, but it's more exhausting to be terrible.
A dickhead.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, ultimately what this is that I'm just a lazy guy, and I want the most direct route to joy and happiness and freedom. Turns out living the altruistic lifestyle and doing the extra, doing things with the full breadth of effort tends to be, the one-shot deal to get it done right.
That hard way happens to be the easiest way.
Correct, yeah. And if you try to do it the easy way, you'll end up having to do it the hard way if you ever get back to that opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's not without its benefits. So I think, one of the ideas here of perseverance is, again, this character building. We're noticing where we had some character defects. I'm constantly acting out of selfishness. I'm constantly acting out of fear, out of anger, resentment, and self-centeredness. What can I, work on exchanging out? So when I start to act right and do good deeds regularly, and I've made amends now in my 9th step, or I'm continuing to make amends. The idea is that that is going to be changing my character. I have a new system that I'm doing things with, which is I'm going to be an ally of the truth force. I'm trying to get on board with whatever the truth is, whatever love would have me do, whatever the truth would have me do. I'm going to find out what the actions are, and I'm going to try and be doing those things all the time. Those are elusive concepts, by the way. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time in my life like chasing after those things and working on, figuring out what those actions are, taking those actions, and I want to be free of fear as often as I can be. I want to be free of anger. I want to be free of these things that might take me over and, have me make decisions out of those natural drives, that are not good for me or good for the world.
So in the big book, the step 10 really is only like about one page of the big book. Shall we read some of it?
I would actually love to, over the course of the next this episode, I would just like to read that page. Most people will never pick up a big book who are watching this, right? So I'd like to read this one page so you guys can get everything out of it, because 10 is basically, if you guys like, life hacks, step 10 is the big life hack, because it's steps, 4 through 9 all in one big chunk.
Okay.
It's one page. It's steps 4 through 9 in one page.
Let's
start it off. Go for it.
So, we vigorously commence this way of living as we clean up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit, and not the alcoholic spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for a lifetime.
Yeah, and so, again, perseverance, the building of character will take time. Once you start doing things for a season or a year or a couple years or a couple decades, those things become your character. So I don't know about you. I've been doing this thing a couple years now. Now we're at that place where I think I have a pretty legitimate character. I've got another person in here that is like a better version of me. I still got that shitty version, but as long as I keep building this new version of me and am interested in progress and continuing to stay honest, open-minded, and willing, like I'm going to be able to be more of that person and improve this new person that I am, carrying over some of the original traits, the good stuff that I want, and hopefully not as, very little of the bad stuff, and hopefully I can be offloading that continuously over I'm still looking for some of these deeper patterns, which is what this next part is about. I'm going to read that now, okay? By the way, this is pages 83 and 84 in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, where the 12 steps originated from. So we're going to continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. Alex,
I like that.
I love it. Yeah, so this is really what steps 4 through 9 are about. Tell me what the fuck this means.
I like that. It's like you're sending a door and it's like, what's the password? And they're like, love and tolerance.
You're like, no, the real password that I want to do.
So yeah, to me this is kind of like keeping your room clean almost in a way, where it's like I don't just wait for the clothes and muck to pile up so high I can't get into bed and then do a cleaning of the whole house. When I see a shirt on the ground, I pick it up and I put it in the wash. And in this way, it's kind of like, rather than letting things fester into these bigger problems, like, maybe I was a little, snotty to Zach, and I just go, hey, man, sorry about that. And then it's like, oh, no big deal. Whereas if I did it every day for a year, and then one day I was like, hey, I've been a jerk, you'd be like, yeah, you have.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm way over here saying that now, because
It's such a deep connection, we don't even talk anymore.
Right.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
So just this kind of sort of ongoing maintenance, just like as you cook, you clean. It's kind of like that. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be imperfect, but I'm going to keep an eye out for those things, recognize them as they go on, and then clean them up, and then go help another.
Mm-hmm. We're going to put this back on the screen for you guys, because this is kind of like a 5-step process, So the idea of, love and tolerance of others is our code. It's like we're programming ourselves. So that's that last statement, but that's ultimately the outcome that we want here. Love and tolerance of others is our code. That's the code that we want to be of the program that we're running all the time. Love and tolerance of others. Love and tolerance of others. Now I'm going to check in with myself. Number one, continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. I'm actively running a search in this new computer program that I built within me, to say, that I was doing in my fourth and fifth step to really kind of say, where is this stuff? What does it feel like when I'm selfish? What does fear physically feel like in my body? Yeah. What does anger and resentment feel like? How am I manifesting these things? So I'm checking in with myself. If I'm not feeling love and tolerance for some reason, if I'm noticing that I'm a little off, I'm going, okay, wait a minute.
This is not my code.
Yeah, exactly. There's an error here. There's an unhealthy program coming up from the older, fight, flight, fear, or fuck computer that was installed in me, many iterations ago.
Sure.
So I want to, before that derails me and gets me into fighting somebody or running from something good for me.
Or you derail someone else.
Or rail someone else. I'm trying to figure out, I'm going to figure out where that's leafing itself in, because it's an old brain, it's an old system.
And I like how it says when these crop up. It's not like, if these things happen. Like, it's definitely going to happen.
Exactly. Like, I used to be a perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist anymore because
imperfect.
I'm imperfect. The idea is like, if I want to keep from being the worst version of myself, which could be fucking terrible. It might be as bad as anybody in history if I had the right platform.
You're like an unsuccessful Hitler.
Correct. Or Stalin.
You prefer to think of yourself as a Stalin?
Well, he's more of a hockey guy, so.
Did he play hockey?
Well, the USSR was like big in hockey.
They were big, yeah.
Anyway, so the idea is like, I'm going searching for where these things are. And I don't know why, but when I get quiet and I go, okay, what is the truth? It doesn't just fucking hit me like a sack of bricks. Mm-hmm. But when I go, okay, where have I been dishonest today? And that hits me like a sack of bricks. I'll have 6 things come up because for some reason, I think I'm a moral creature that I can't stop being moral. And I'm not saying like you're moral and you have to do it this way. I'm saying I can't stop from being a moral motherfucker. I hate that about me, but now that I can't change it, I need to accept it. So I'm kind of going, okay, where was I dishonest today? And then I look at those things. And mostly where I find dishonesty today is just that I was thinking about, maybe I could tell a lie here. And then I'm like, it's going to get us in trouble.
Don't do that.
Don't do it, man. Just tell the truth. It's going to hurt for a second and then it's going to be better.
Okay.
You might lose some things, but then it's going to be a good thing for you to lose. It's going to be better.
I know we have a lot to get through. Is there anything else you want to say on this piece?
Again, it's just, I'm getting quiet. I'm noticing when I'm not in love and tolerance, and I'm looking for these things specifically. Where have I been selfish today? Where have I been dishonest today? Where have I been resentful? Where have I been fearful? And when these crop up, step 2, we ask God at once to remove them. And so it's really a simplified version of what we were doing before in the 4th step, where we were doing like, here's my fear prayer. I can go back to those whenever I need to, but really it's like, okay, God, get rid of these. It's like, I've already run that program enough times where I'm going to this idea of God, even if it's not real. I can say the word God, get rid of these things, and some part of me knows that I'm no longer going to have fear. It does get rid of it, and it redirects this energy elsewhere. So the then I go and discuss this with someone immediately. As soon as if I can, I call somebody. Hey, this is going on, because before it takes me out into a place of like emotional drunkenness on something that's going to get me into negative behavior or saying something out loud that could harm someone or harm myself, I'm going to discuss it with another person. And then if I have an amends to make, I'm going to quickly make them with anyone, as long as it's not going to harm them to do so. And then again, we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. So I have this rise of energy from this emotional where I think I'm in trouble or I need to fight.
Healing.
Exactly. I have this superhuman surge of fight or flight energy happening, and I'm going to redirect it into helping someone. By putting my hand.
Choke them out.
Exactly, but with love. And so, and again, it's a return back to it's like I'm love and tolerance is my code, and then I'm going to occasionally descend into negative shit.
Oh no!
Insane shit. But
no.
I'm gonna go through this process to loop back up and stay up here.
Oh.
So I'm gonna have moments where I dip down into the unconscious,
the grind.
negative stuff, and I'm gonna come back up consciously. I'm gonna be
up here,
noticing when that's happening.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So
Got
1
that.
through 5, and back at it. Back to love and tolerance. Yeah, so to touch on these original step 4 prayers, you remember what these ones are? The general idea of what these prayers are?
basically trying to get rid of resent, fear, and remember our ideals and remove kind of dishonesty or selfishness.
Yeah, exactly. We're just trying to identify these things as they're coming up. And so the motherfucker prayer, that was our direction. Pray for a motherfucker was step 8's challenge for the week. Pray for somebody that you hated that had been a real motherfucker to you, and see if you can actually change the way that you feel about them just by saying nice things about them in your head to maybe something that's listening or not listening. The best friend prayer is kind of another way of saying that. Like, this is my best friend because they're showing me something dark in myself, and I can go and now I can identify where the Hitler is. Yay! Now I know where Hitler is because I don't want him to get out. I want to know exactly what's happening in my subconscious regions.
Would you say Hitler was a jabroni?
What do you mean by that? I don't know this. I've heard jabroni. It's a funny word. I remember it from Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, I'm just saying like a jabroni, like The Rock. He used to smell where The Rock is cooking, and he would try to find jabronis.
Oh.
And get rid of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, like if The Rock was alive for World War II, I think
total jabroni.
I think that would have gone a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay. So, we're trying to get rid of fear.
Yeah. So again, just remove the fear. Place my focus on my real identity as a child of God. Maybe try that on for size, even if you don't like that terminology. A child of the universe, which is kind of like I'm equal with everything else, and I deserve. Good. I need to have good things just like everybody else needs to have it. Deserve is something maybe you can grow into, like I've had to. But if I'm a child of God, well, then I deserve. Then I'm gonna need some good things so that He's gonna provide me with good things so that I don't go to the dark side to try and get those things for myself.
Right.
So at once we commence to outgrow fear when we like refocus and root ourselves in this identity of I'm part of the universe here, and I'm just asking the universe for a little bit of help. The ideal prayer, kind of the idea of that, like, look, I'm trying to, do everything I can today to help build the future that I want to be a part of, moving in that direction.
Great. More to read. Go ahead.
All right. So this is, again, just continuing on page 83 and 84. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even our former struggle. For by this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in our former struggle. If tempted, we recoil from it as if from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward our life, or toward our struggle, has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. Okay, so that's a lot to cover there. What are your thoughts on that paragraph?
So to me, it's like, okay, maybe every winter I go to Detroit, right, to visit family.
I love where we're going here.
I don't like the flight. I don't like the people in Detroit. I don't like my family in Detroit. It's miserable, right? And I'm always upset about it all year. I'm angry about it. And then one year, I just decided to take a trip to Yellowstone then instead, And when I'm in Yellowstone, I'm not thinking about Detroit. I'm just in Yellowstone, which is great. Unless you go in the summer, there's a lot of kids. But if you go during September, it's pretty nice. And so you go to September in Yellowstone, and like whatever's happening on the way to Detroit on that flight with those people, like that's not my life, And so for me, it's more about like if I'm going down a spiritual path, there may be 10,000 other sick and lost paths, but it's whatever. Like I'm not concerned about every traffic jam in the world. I'm just concerned about, my path. And if I'm living a healthy spiritual life, like that's fulfilling and right for me. I don't have to try to control the world. I don't have to try to see through every other option. And I'm not really. It's not like I'm mad at Detroit. It's not like I'm cool with Detroit. Like I'm just not in Detroit.
Yeah, you could just put your hands up for Detroit. We love this city. So sanity has returned, it says. Mm-hmm. And so for you, maybe, so in that metaphor, maybe the idea of sanity is like, I'm going to go to Yellowstone instead of this other place that I go that is always kind of this crazy. I'm noticing how crazy it is that I do this all the time. I'm going to do this other thing, taking this other path. And now, sanity has returned. So there's some, the last time we heard this talk of sanity was in step 2. That we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So it's almost as if, like, step 1, we identify that we have a problem, and then step 2 is kind of saying, like, the problem is insanity, and then steps 2 through 9 are basically saying, we're going to work through this insanity and create the conditions in which sanity returns.
So then we're in sanity.
Yes, in the state of sanity. Yeah, it's infamous. It's like
just
being
south of
famous, but
Detroit.
you're so famous, you're infamous. Yeah, yeah. There is a lot of insanity in South Detroit. Born and raised in South Detroit.
Really?
No, it's just a great song. So sanity has returned. So why the fuck does it say that? I think it's because we've done all of this work to identify our wrong thinking, and then we've taken action. We've weighed that out with a mentor of ours to go and make amends. We've admitted everything to this guy in step 5 or girl. We've asked for some of these wrong ways of thinking, these wrong patterns of thinking and feeling and living to be removed in the idea of we're going to go forward in this new direction of living, and then we're actually doubling down on that by making these amends and actually going out into the world and trying to set right our wrongs. Okay, so that seems to the moral creature that I am, fractured as I have been. I start to come back to wholeness, I think, is the idea here with sanity. You talked about sanity being meaning clean. That I've cleaned up this garbage, this mess in my past, and now I can feel peace. That's one of the 9th step promises. I have this sense of peace and serenity in my life now, that I don't need to drink and do drugs or eat sugar or have sex or do anything out here to get. I can just seek it and I get it. I keep myself pretty clean from all of this other garbage, this fear, this anger. I get rid of that stuff. I identify it regularly and get rid of it so that I can have this sanity. This cleanliness of experience, this peacefulness of experience.
I like just going like this. That feels good.
It does feel good. I'm trying to...
I think I'm doing a magic trick.
It's full body, bro. Yeah. So, any other thoughts on this?
I guess just the kind of in that same vein along, this basically neutrality or calm, peace remains as long as we're in fit spiritual condition. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is, again, this isn't like a light switch that just permanently stays. There's maintenance required. And if I'm starting to get old thinking, it's an indicator not that my conditions are messed up or that it's like that person at work is an asshole. It means I'm not really in the right place to react to the world. People have walked through all sorts of crazy, difficult things, deaths of spouses, all sorts of terrible things, and have remained sober and actually in good spirits or neutral or positive about things. And so if I'm not that, then it's a reflection of me, not that the world is failing me. I'm failing it.
Wow. So it sounds like we're taking a lot of responsibility for our thoughts and our emotions. And we might have some crazy stuff come through, but we're not acting on it anymore. And we're not even paying attention to it really anymore.
Right. What's if I'm walking down the street, right, and then it smells like a sewer, I don't stop and try to figure out what's going on. I just keep going.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, or I also...
Sometimes I do because I like it.
Yeah, I love the smell of trashes. But there's also I was listening to this thing about breaking down your dreams, trying to figure out what your dreams are trying to express to you, kind of as this birthplace of thought was the idea behind it. And if you kind of treated this whole thing like a dream, like when you wake up from a bad dream, you're like, oh, well, it's not real, so that's nice. And that it's not real, but it's so real when you're asleep and just trapped in your own head. The idea is let's not be trapped in our own head as a victim of whatever train of thought happens to come rolling through. And let's practice regularly, jumping off of those trains of thought and back into the present moment where there's a lot more opportunity than I may be able to see.
Do you want to know a cool thing I heard the other day?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. Well, someone's talking about basically having strong relationships or the role of a sponsor in our life as well as we're trapped in a box. and we have everything we need to get out of the box, but the instructions are written on the outside of the box. And we need other people to communicate them to us.
Yeah. So, well, there's this huge thing that we just talked about. We need to be involving other people here. We have to be known.
It's kind of like triangulating reality, right? Like,
yes.
I could be like, that person sucks, and you could be like, no, you suck. And then it could be like, oh, we both suck.
Right. Yeah, like there's commonalities across all people, and you can kind of help measure, those things a little more appropriately. I'm pretty black or white with how I want to measure things. It's either a definite threat to me or it's not a threat to me. And really, in reality, it's more about, I'm a pretty sensitive person, I think is what that points out. And how can I toughen up a little bit and, not take things personally?
And I think it's also, having a bit more subtlety and skillfulness in how we go through life. So maybe I've said this before, but like if I had a Ferrari and the tire popped, my solution wouldn't be to throw out the Ferrari. It would be to fix the little thing that's wrong and then keep floating around.
Right.
It doesn't float. It's not.
That'd be pretty sweet. Point. That's like a $1 billion car.
Amphibious Ferrari. That's what I'm trying to do.
James Bond shit.
So you get what I'm saying, though, right?
I do. Another thought that came up was I heard about this experiment where they were measuring luck.
Oh.
And a lucky person and an unlucky person. So one of the ways that you can tell a lucky person is they will tell you that they're a lucky person. They're like, oh yeah, I always have the best luck. So they did this little experiment where they hid not hid, but they put a large bill. I forget if it was a 20 or 100, but they put it in relative plain sight. But it was the corner of a table, in the corner of the room. And the lucky people, they put these people in a room, people that identified as lucky, people that identified as unlucky.
I'm coming out as lucky.
Okay, yeah, me too, by the way. And then there's a bunch of other people that, didn't identify one way or the other. And so they measured this. The lucky person, when they put them in the room, they found that bill almost 100% of the time. I can't remember if it was 100 or if it was 98%, but it was almost every time.
A lot of luck.
You put the unlucky person in that room and it was 15% of the time or something that they would find it. And then it was hit or miss with the people in between. So there's something about how we identify what our worldview is, and what our belief system around that, I'm always finding things. What they found was the people who identified as lucky, it wasn't that they were more, that they had a magic, quality about them. They literally were looking around the room for opportunities for new things to come into their life. And so they had a different perspective than the people that were unlucky often looked down. They weren't engaging with people a whole lot. And the idea there is that they don't see a lot of opportunity available to them all the time. So maybe they've even, there might be deeper implications there about their worldview. But the idea is if you want to be the lucky guy, you just got to be the lucky guy. Act as if kind of thing. And then the thinking can follow from there, which is really what this program is about, right? We act our way into right thinking, not think our way into right action. Try these things out and see if they work. Try out if there's a higher power, all connecting, see what happens when you start talking to a thing that you don't think is there.
Audition God.
Yeah, try it out. Try somebody, in hockey tryouts, it was so go try somebody out, which means go fight them. And that's kind of what we've been doing is
fighting God.
That's kind of what I did in my 9th step. I'm going to tell that story, I think, in the 12th step, though.
Stay tuned.
Also, one more thing on this is that we're moving forward into steps 11, which is about spirituality, and steps 12, which is about service. Okay, so perseverance, spirituality, and service are these 3 daily occurrences that are going to kind of be running together. Step 10 is just a part of my daily practice from here on out. That doesn't take very long, but it helps me to adopt the right attitude towards life. I'm going to need spirituality to be a part of that, so I'm going to be talking with a higher power regularly throughout the day. A greater version of myself, however you want to say that. And then I'm also going to be paying it forward, and I'm going to be trying to find people to help, so that I get my energy moving in the right direction.
Great.
Yeah. Why don't you read the next one, Alex?
It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for addiction or alcoholism is a subtle foe. We're not cured of our struggle. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will.
Whoa.
Love that.
Whoa. What struck you as you were reading that?
So, I mean, what's helpful to me is this idea, like, sometimes it feels like, okay, I'm just supposed to stop wanting things or thinking. Like, I can't really stop that. And so it's helpful to me that if I am aligned with like a higher power and some clarity in my life, then okay, I'm gonna use my brain, my crafty little brain, but I'm gonna use it for how do I help other people, how do I deliver more spirit into the world, and then all this energy and thinking I have, all this intent I have, is useful all of a sudden. So it's not like I have to like shut off or something. Actually, I can turn on you and turn on my abilities and just direct them in a way that's helpful to others. And I think that I really love this phrase, a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. So it's like, unfortunately, all the good stuff I did last year doesn't make today, I can still go drink or do drugs or screw it all up today. And I have some momentum carried in from, my previous habits and stuff, but it's always available to screw up and needs to be renewed every day. And in the same way, it's kind of a relief because it's like, all right, I just have to do one day, one day at a time. I can pretend to be a good guy for a day,
Mm-hmm. Well, and I've heard you say this one before, yeah, I was thirsty last week, so I took a drink of water last week.
Right.
But I'm thirsty today too. And
right.
I think that that's metaphorical about we're thirsting for something, some wonderful experience in every day. And I can go to this one source for that.
Right.
I instead of going to the 17 different, temporary, maybe even numbing places that's just going to get me through the day.
Right.
I'm trying to go to the source of all the goodness, and I'm going to try and act out of there.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little bit scary, because ultimately I might get some direction that I need to do some changes in my life and actually do something more of what I feel I'm placed here to do. Maybe that's change jobs. Maybe that's move on from a relationship or ask somebody out. To get into this space of kind of being like, what would the perfect version of me want for me? Given my skill set, given this time and place in history, what am I good at that I really enjoy doing that at this time and place in history could serve others? And so it might be this simple concept of just being useful, but that for me was like this huge thing. Like I thought I had to reinvent. I thought I had to write the most perfect book ever written. And I thought that's shit that I actually
to the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, that's what I thought I needed to do. And instead of what I really needed to do was be useful, is what it turned out to be.
A lot simpler.
Exactly. Yeah, that usefulness set me free to maybe I'll write that book. Probably not, but it doesn't matter. I'm set on a path of action towards usefulness, and that will help me, feel fulfilled and feel like I'm growing as a person, and certainly. Being able to practice the 10-step daily to make sure that I'm not going the other direction is really like the key to that.
Cool.
So the next one here is much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from Him who has all knowledge and power. Him, her, it, whatever you want to do there. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. Sounds sexy. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense. But we must go further, and that means more action. So that's the end of the 10th step reading in the book. What struck you about that passage?
I guess it kind of strikes me there's a sort of limitless nature to this new path, right? Like, if God or my higher power is all powerful, all knowledgeable, then anytime I think I have it down, I have a taste of I know how to be a good guy for a little bit while, then I'm really just at the start of the whole path, and the bigness and fullness of my life and my ability to serve others is always something I can continue to grow through more action. If I'm feeling like I've got it figured out, I'm not challenging myself enough to take more action, basically.
I love that. The other thing is that, so this was, there's this idea of like feast and fast, that is kind of like it's a narrative from like, ancient times, we can say. The idea that there may be storms coming. There may be,
like hurricanes due to global warming.
there might be like a death in the family coming. There might be like, I want to be able to be fortifying myself, like, I want to be able to persevere through anything.
Right.
So if there's something, what I've experienced so far in my time, clean and sober, is that sometimes I go through these little grace periods where I can like quit sugar and I can like start, wake up at 4:30 in the morning and do a bunch of stuff in my day and like have all of this crazy discipline. And I can like bring in new habits that I've always wanted to have and then leave habits that I've always wanted to leave. And then I go through these other times where it's like a fasting time where it's kind of like, a feast and famine, where there's a famine time where it's like, I'm just working on, I've got so much happening in my life, or there's a crisis happening, and my job is just to be, spiritually fit. And no matter what is happening, and I've had some, kind of crazy occurrences go on in my, everyday life is not a fucking tickling competition. Like it's hard, And what I found was, because of this program of working the steps, religiously, you might say, when the hard days come, I immediately, I'm talking to this higher power more often. I'm saying these prayers more often, and it's kind of crazy, but I have these incredible experiences on the harder days, like when there are deaths, when there are, very hard situations, coming up. I tend to be one of the most strongly rooted people there. People end up looking at me as the stable one, as the one who, should have a say here, or, which is the craziest thing, because, just from being humble and like trying to be as rooted as I can be, I end up having these great experiences, and I end up not just having a great internal experience through some of these hardest days of your life. I can enjoy them at these multiple levels. Enjoy them. Like, that's fucking crazy, But I can also be there as a pillar of strength for somebody else who might not have that, who might be falling apart, who might be decimated, in this catastrophe.
My experience has been also like when hard things come up, because I've been doing all this work to be well, it's almost like there's almost like insulation. Like I'll go through things I've gone through not well, but it just doesn't, it feels kind of dampened. Like it's not as like extreme and painful and heavy. It's like, I'm aware there's some challenging thing, and I know how to walk through it, and I have some buffering between me and like crisis, basically.
Well, it's like that, again, that integration. The fifth step is about integrity. It's integrating all parts of me to create the stronger structure. And, meekness, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. That has to do with like, knowing how dangerous that you can be, and actually, walking with your sword, sheathed, knowing that you can decimate anything that comes up because you've been a killer in the past, but now you're doing it for good. Like that's that idea that, like, I can go out there and be a force for good in this world, and I'm constantly trying to reintegrate all of these experiences, and I'm in these. You meet these people that go through these immense traumas. I guess we've been there. Like what we were doing to ourselves was fucking traumatic. Like it's so sad that was happening for us. But the richness of our experience to have survived that and be able to draw on all of that, like it made us crazy strong to go through what we went through. We meet people that have gone through the worst things that you could ever order up for someone if you were trying to hurt them as much as you possibly could. And these people come out as like the most amazing, and they have depth. Like all of these levels of them are just alive because they're just cut open, but they're healing. And all of this stuff that they pull up is just, it's incredible to be around.
Love that.
It's magnetic, and they can heal the world with the darkness that they've seen and have been able to come back from. So that's really kind of, to me, that's what the 10th step is all about, that I've got a part of me that is trying to get back in control. The false self is always trying to get back in control, and I want to know exactly where it is. The line between good and evil runs down every human heart, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I want to know where that line is, and anything that's coming up throughout my day that is, causing an anger or resentment or a fear or, lust or any other type of self, extreme form of self, that's a clue of where the line between good and evil lies in me. And again, with that word evil, it's just, I've been an agent of evil before. I've screwed people over, knew that I was doing it and did it anyway. And I was doing it unconsciously mostly. now I'm conscious of it, and now I don't have to be that guy anymore.
Beautiful. And so with step 10, when those things arise, I can clear them out and stay kind of on the right path.
Exactly.
Great.
And now, moving forward into next week, we're going to be...
Is there a call to action for step 10?
Oh, fuck. What is the call to action for step 10?
I think it's maybe just at the end of your day to take an inventory, like what happened, what was good, what was bad, and if whatever comes up that you aren't 100% cool with, do something about it. If that might be apologize to somebody, maybe drink more water, whatever it is.
And specifically, thank you. Specifically, like ask yourself, where have I been selfish today? I've never really had a lot of success with, hey, where was I great today? Where was I truthful today? Like those are, hopefully I have many of those situations. I don't have to relive that thing egotistically or whatever. But if I can go back to these moments of like, where was I not at my best? It tends to allow me to feel, all of a sudden I'll notice as well that I have had some moments that were really good throughout the day. And there's a balance to it. And I'm not trying to be better than other people anymore. Or thinking that I'm worse and terrified of being worse. I'm just trying to do a little bit better than I did yesterday. And when I ask myself these questions, it grants me an audience with myself, to have a moment with myself to say, am I really on the right track here? And those are critical if I'm going to be on the path that I want to be on in life and then stay on that path.
So next week we're doing step 11.
Step 11, which is spirituality.
Yes.
Do you remember the whole 11th step?
No.
We're going to have it at the bottom of the screen. What is it? Conscious contact with a higher power.
Something like that.
Sought through prayer and meditation to have contact with conscious contact with a higher power of our own understanding. Ew, there's a lot of stuff there.
We'll write it.
It's spirituality. It's at the bottom of the screen there.
It's good. It's good stuff.
For the podcasters, sorry about that, but...
So thank you to Tyler Duffus.
Yeah, Duff. Yep, pinching the nipples back there. Thank you,
wow.
Blackwater.
Tap in the butt.
Ooh, Blackwater Audio.
Very
we love you.
Blackwaters.
If you're looking at starting a podcast, apparently anybody can fucking do it. Contact Blackwater Audio. Avery Quest did the music. Cannibal. Cannabalonian. And Caleb Bond did the artwork. Thank you to... Oh, by the way, we have a lot of people reaching out to us. We thank you so much for reaching. We're just honored and humbled that you would reach out to us, and we're doing our best to kind of keep up with some of the demand. But this is a really cool thing. It's really awesome to have so many people participating with us. We hear you. We love you. We're just so grateful that you join us and be a part of this thing together. Final word, Alex?
I gotta pee.
Oh, great. We'll pee together. Cross swords.
Until next time.
That'll be spiritual next time.
Bye.
Bye.